Superheroes in Star Wars are currently at the forefront of mainstream nerd culture, so let's consider both through the lens of specific scenes, with a twist. Said twist being that we'll explore 5 scenes I like from movies I dislike, and 5 scenes I dislike from movies I like. And before we dive in, I'll list what movies are included in the description below as a spoiler warning. Leave a like while you're down there, big dog. And let's hit up some good scenes from subpar movies. Plus one TV show. Starting with The Last Jedi, Rey Nobody. The funny thing about this movie is that I like pretty much all of Rey's storyline and dislike the other 2 ones entirely. Meaning I enjoyed about 1/3 of this film, which somehow still grants it the illustrious honor of being my favorite sequel trilogy movie. But I digress. An aspect of this movie I endorse is how it distances itself from the dynastic underpinnings of the OG and prequel trilogy to step into something new. The revelation of Rey being nobody isn't just good for her character, it's good for Star Wars. Because it makes this her story, not someone prior's. It pushes the series forward instead of looking backward and expands the power of the Force to encompass everyone, not just the Skywalkers. Rey becomes fundamentally different from Luke and Anakin in that she's neither the son of the devil who's destined to face him, nor the devil who's destined to fall. She's just herself.
But wait! There's more!
This is also the scene where Kylo Ren, aka Ben Swolo, reveals that he isn't looking backward either, on a meta level. Cause while Rey thought he could be redeemed just like his mommy's daddy, he rebukes the idea of becoming a good boy. He's evil, he wants to be evil, and he will stay evil because this is a new story with new characters and new arcs. Up until the next movie undoes literally everything I just said.
Ew.
Eternals. Cersei vs. Icarus. Eternals is in a weird position for me because I go back and forth on whether I like it. I enjoy a lot of its parts, but when aggregated I don't think they work super well. This scene is a perfect example. It's the end of the movie and our hero Cersei is about to save the day, until Icarus, the traitorous villain, gets her in his sights. But he just can't bring himself to finish her off.
What?
That's interesting, because your standard superhero movie villain is either comically evil or callously indifferent. Eternals takes a different approach, making the villain in love with the hero, which is a unique dynamic that elevates this film's climax. In a movie that focused more on this 1,000-year romance and gave Cersei more characterization than a wet napkin, this would be even better. Even so, this is still a very grounded way to conclude an event that is otherwise cataclysmic. And stuff like that is more important to me than who's the strongest or who shoots bright lasers. Cause it connects me to characters in a way that punching really hard never will. Too bad we'll never see any Eternal again. Next, The Flash. Goodbye, Mother.
You what?
Hear me out, big dog, hear me out. Put aside the fact that Ezra Miller is a real-life comic book villain. In a movie with time travel and spaghetti talk and Supergirl canonically being so incompetent that Zod beats her 100% of the time, it's hard to find a nugget of good. But this scene is it. It's sandwiched between superhero antics, but at its core it is as grounded as you can get. Cause it's just a son who was deprived of his mother getting the goodbye he never had. There's no jokes to undercut the tension, no action-packed interruptions, just human connection. Now, the scene after reveals that Barry did actually use his powers to change the timeline, which does damage the tearful goodbye. However,
I'll allow it.
as I understand it, he can change things, see if it worked, then go back and reverse his decision at will. So it makes sense that he would at least try to rescue his zaddy. Most of us would do the same, so I don't consider it poor writing, but rather an aspect of debatable morality. That said, your mileage may vary.
But anywho!
Speaking of familial relationships, Mandalorian Season 2, Goodbye Grogu. Listen, real talk, I did not like Mando Part Duh. Whereas the first season felt small and contained and tight, Season 2 felt like a parade of cameos that our pair of heroes got lost in. But this ending was, in part, a redemption, because it's the culmination of a journey. It's Din letting go of Grogu, and Grogu accepting his destiny of getting murked by Kylo Ren later.
Yikes!
To put it plainly, this heartfelt goodbye made for a really strong conclusion to a flawed but well-intentioned saga. We followed Din and Grogu as they operated within the margins of this universe, but now that one of them was stepping into the limelight, it was time for their shared thread to unravel. Until our boys returned in the Book of Bobby Feet, apparently, which I won't watch. Then again in Mando Act C, which I also won't watch. And the upcoming movie, apparently, which I also won't. Huh? What's that? Zeb Aurelius, you say? And Jabba's son? Hoo boy! Ant-Man 3. Multiple Man. Ant-Man 3 isn't just the worst of its trilogy, it's one of the worst Marvel movies. You're lucky Love and Thunder exists, bucko.
They also scream quite a lot.
They'll be fine.
Anyway, what I like about this scene is that, despite it starting with thousands of alternate Scots vying against one another for the magic conch, they all unify after they realize that they need the conch to save their daughter. And again, this scene isn't about Scott being strong or smart. His love for his daughter is what propels him forward. This is a fantastic pinnacle to a path Scott has walked since we met him, and proof that his greatest power isn't his power, but his love, which is semi-validated by Hope saving him, and semi-invalidated by him needing to be saved. And also, I don't know how Hope is of one mind with her alternates immediately, but let's ignore all that and just enjoy the moment. It's the last good one we'll get from this movie. Alright, feel free to sound off on your own submissions in the comments, cause I'd like to see what pops up. And while your pretty little fingies tip-type away, we're on to section dos. Scenes I don't like and movies I do. Let's give it up for... Revenge of the Sith. Yoda gives up. This is baffling to me. Imagine this. The entire galaxy is in peril, and it's partially your fault for not seeing it coming.
Oops.
So you confront a real baddie in both senses of the word, then get knocked down. Do you A. Get up again? B. Try spinning, that's a neat trick? Or C. Give up and go into exile forever? If you're Yoda, you do C. That's Luda. This isn't a battle, this is the battle. Yet of all the abilities he could have used, Yoda chose fold. Flapped my cheeks are, nap I must. Boy, if you don't get up and square up! And you Yoda heads skulking about will claim he was biding his time.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
If Obi-Wan hadn't said, Luke, head on down to Dagobah, Yoda would have lived out the rest of his days as a goblin hermit. Garbage Grandmaster. Infinity War. Rocket's joke. So Thor goes on a long speech about how he has recently lost pretty much everything important to him. It's a touching scene where we see Thor at his lowest and most vulnerable point. Then Rocket responds with,
I can lose a lot. Me personally, I can lose a lot.
This is how you undercut tension, by cracking asinine jokes that add nothing but fluff. Marvel movies are infamous for undermining sincerity, but for some reason this scene sticks in my head whenever I think of that trope. And maybe it's because it's specifically about Thor, who is arguably at his best in Infinity War. Probably, now that I think about it. The point is that this type of writing reeks of cowardice. It's indicative of a writer or producer or whatever who is afraid that he, she, they will lose the audience if the movie isn't always joke, joke, punch, punch. So it's especially disappointing to see something like this in a film where the audience is guaranteed. Also, I don't like Rocket Raccoon. Next! Man of Steel. Krypton had its chance. I'm not opposed to a less heroic Superman. I'm not even opposed to a Superman who wants to be a chiropractor. But I think the DCEU fails to make these moments part of Superman's arc and instead treats them like things that just kinda happen. And you're probably wondering,
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
well, Clark is on a ship with Zod that holds the last Kryptonian embryos in the universe. And this exchange happens.
Kal-El, no! Don't destroy the ship, you'll obliterate our race!
Zod, you moron. Don't you know what this S on my chest stands for?
Hope?
No, abortion!
Yeah, that's not a Superman that's exhausted all of his options. That's a Clark who wants to catch as many bodies as he can before they recast him. Yes, not every Superman needs to be pure of heart, but mainline adaptations should at least strive for the hero we know and love, even if they fail. I find that more interesting than Batmanizing Superman or making him evil. Good thing we'll never see this version again. Next. Empire Strikes Back. Han and Leia. You know, in rewatching this scene, I find myself uncomfortable. The adversarial relationship up to this point? Whack. The body language? Whack. Han not taking no for an answer? Whack. This scene doesn't feel romantic, it feels sinister. Because of the implication. I mean, after all, Leia's on Han's ship out in the middle of space. Where's she gonna go? What's she gonna do? You know what? Garbage mans. I'm glad Han became a saber kebab. Guardians 3. The ending. This one's actually a twofer. To start, I don't know if there's a name for it, but there's a trope wherein the hero slaughters their way to the big bad, only to spare him out of some sense of higher morality. I call it meaningless mercy. Case in point, Rocket and his pals just got done murking the High Evolutionary's boys, but when rubber meets road, they're too high and mighty to finish the job. And not only that, we have a second grievance coming in hot. The I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you trope. Sparing the High Evolutionary here just means he's gonna bust in a few minutes anyway, so it's doubly pointless.
But wait! There's more!
This whole shindig is about animal cruelty and standing against it. Rocket specifically takes time out of the finale to rescue beasties when he otherwise could have just let them bust. But for some unfathomable reason, the movie ends with the new Guardians about to slaughter a herd of wildlife. Why would this movie end on them fighting animals? Have the Guardians ever even fought a bunch of wild animals before? This isn't even a sidestep, it is a direct contradiction of the movie up to this point. Just have them fight bandits or meteors, like literally anything else.
We were on the verge of greatness. We were this close.
And that's the list. Yay or nay? Tack any of your personal picks below that you feel strongly about. Let me hear them. And meanwhile, on my end, that's all for this one. Like and subscribe because I've got more rewrites, essays, and whatnot in the works. And until the next one, cheers.